Hey guys, today I'm telling you about my favorite TV shows. To be considered in this list, they have to 1. Be at least 4 seasons long or longer, and 2. They can't be kids shows, so like no Disney shows or Nickelodeon. Because if I were to include Disney shows, they would be the whole video. So I was just thinking of making that its own video. I will be adding where you can watch them somewhere on the screen. Also, I'm sorry if you see me glancing down. I have my computer right there, and I have the list of all the TV shows on my computer. Starting off in 20th place, we have Nikita. This show is 4 seasons long, I believe, and it's about this girl that used to work for this secret government spy company, and they kind of mistreated her, and she decided to leave and get her revenge, and then we see her now getting her revenge, and that's where the TV series starts. It's really good. It's very action-filled. I really like that show. Then we have Friends. I feel like everyone knows Friends. Everyone's seen at least one episode of Friends. It's honestly a really good show. If you don't know what it's about 6 friends living in New York City. That's why it's called Friends. The next show on the list is The Secret Life of the American Teenager. This show is about a teenage girl who gets pregnant right before starting high school, and she has to deal with everyone judging her and like who the father of the baby is and all that kind of stuff. It's really interesting. And then after she gives birth, the show turns into how she's a mother and while still in high school, and it's really interesting. I really did not like the ending to this show. I felt like it was really rushed, but the rest of the series is really good. The next show on this list is Criminal Minds. This is honestly an amazing show. It's about agents in the FBI, and they go on cases every week. So every episode is a different case, and it's really interesting how like they form relationships with each other and friendships. And I really like this show. My favorite person in this show is Dr. Reed. This show is one of the big shows that has like over 10 seasons, so you'll never be bored. I really suggest you guys watch it. The next show on the list is Jane the Virgin. Jane the Virgin is a really amazing show. It's like a mix of a CW normal TV show and like a Spanish soap opera. It's really interesting to see how that works. I really like all the characters in the show. It's hilarious. I really like the ending. It's super cute. They end up getting married. Spoiler alert. So you guys should really watch it. The next show on the list is Grey's Anatomy. This show has been on the air since I was a child. It's honestly a great show. I have not seen the latest season of it because I haven't had time to cut up with it, but the seasons that I have seen are amazing. I really enjoyed the show in the beginning a lot more though. It does get a little bit mediocre, but the beginning seasons are so worth watching. The next show on the list is Reign. This show is a historical drama. I'm really obsessed with it. It's not very historically accurate, but it's a really interesting show to watch. It's about Mary, the Queen of Scotland, and how she has to get married to the Prince of France, and then they end up falling in love, and like it's such a cute love story. However, the show is so much more than that because after she leaves France, we still get to see what's going on and stuff, and it's a really interesting show. I absolutely love it. Sadly, it's only 4 seasons. I think it should be longer. And I really did not like how they rushed the ending for this show as well. The next show on the list is Lucifer. Lucifer is a show about the devil. In this show, the devil is this very handsome man in California, and he does favors for people. And then in the first episode, someone he knows dies, and he has to join forces with the police department, specifically with a detective, to try to solve her murder. And then they just become really good friends, and he kind of works for the police department with the detective. He's not like employed by them, but he helps them in like a lot of cases. And it's really interesting because he's trying to tell the detective that he's like the actual devil, and she's like, oh, I don't believe that, like you're just like suffering or whatever. And it takes her a long time, like seasons, to realize he's actually the devil. Number 12 on the list is One Tree Hill. This show was amazing. It's not running anymore, and I think it's honestly one of the first shows I watched, one of like the first teen shows that I watched, because before that it was all Disney for me. And it's really interesting. It's like your typical teenage drama. So it's about kids in high school and how they deal with their lives. In this high school, a lot of things seem to go wrong. There's like a shooting, a couple ends up getting married and pregnant in high school, I think, like their senior year. And there's so much drama. It's really interesting. It's a really girly show as well. The next show on the list is The Good Place. This show has a very interesting concept because it takes place after people have died. It takes place in the afterlife, and there's a really big twist in the first season. I'm not going to spoil it here, but it's really interesting. So it's about this girl, Eleanor, and she is in heaven, but they mixed her up. She wasn't supposed to be in heaven. When she was alive on earth, she was apparently a really horrible person, and she is convinced it was a mistake that she is in heaven, and a lot of things start to go wrong because she's not supposed to be there. The next two shows on this list kind of go together. In 10th place is The Flash, and in 9th place is Arrow. These shows are on the CW's Arrowverse. All the characters in both shows know each other, and they have all crossed over on multiple occasions with each other. Arrow for The Flash, that's why it's called the Arrowverse. It was the first show on the CW universe. Arrow follows the storyline of the hero Arrow. He comes back after being stuck on an island for 5 years. Everyone in his life thought he was dead. And when he comes back, he decides to become Arrow, a vigilante, to protect the city from those who harm it. Then I think it was in season 2 or 3 we get introduced to Flash in the Arrow TV show. And then The Flash gets its own TV show where they show how he gets his superpowers and everything. The next show on this list was kind of before my time. It's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This show is amazing, and I truly believe that it started the whole vampire trend. It's about this girl who is the vampire slayer. There can only be one vampire slayer in the world, and she slays vampires. It's her job. And it's really interesting because we get to see a bunch of monsters and demons, because she ended up moving to this place where all the monsters and demons are attracted to, because it's like the gateway to hell or whatever. They call it the Hellmouth, and it's really interesting to see her fight all the monsters, vampires, and demons. The next show on this list is Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl is about a bunch of teenagers in New York City, and they're super rich, and there's this blog called Gossip Girl. And in this blog, there's always a bunch of rumors about them, and a lot of them are true. And it's about their lives and how dramatic they are, and how scandal really just seems to follow them. They start off in high school, and they age up throughout the show. And by the end of the show, they're not teenagers anymore, and they have like a very interesting finale. And I don't entirely agree with who they ended up putting as Gossip Girl, but they chose this character to be Gossip Girl, and I guess. In 6th place, we have Pretty Little Liars. And this show is a lot like Gossip Girl in the way that there's always a lot of scandal surrounding the main characters. But in this show, there's 4 girls, and they have to keep this secret about their dead friend. And they're getting mysterious text messages from someone named A. And this A person is making them do horrible things. And they can't go to the authorities or their parents because they'll get in trouble for the secret that they're keeping. And it's a really good mysterious show because you always want to know who A is. And technically we have multiple A's throughout the series, but it's really like interesting to find the little clues left in the show to see who A is. The next show on this list is Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time is about all the characters that we know, like all the Disney characters that we already know from all the stories that have been told. So Cinderella, Snow White, the Evil Queen, they all take place in this show, but they're not like the traditional tales. So apparently this Evil Queen cursed all the story characters to come to our world in this little town in Maine called Storybrooke. And she feels really lonely, so she adopts a kid. And this kid is the son of the person that's meant to break the curse, the Savior. And the Savior is the daughter of Snow White, and she was sent through a portal to our realm right before the curse, and she was abandoned. And it was like prophesied that on her 28th birthday she was going to come back and save everyone. So the first season is the kid trying to make her believe. He's like 11 years old, and he's trying to make his birth mom believe. and no one knows that they're cursed. They think they're just normal people. They think they're teachers, psychologists, and stuff. The only person that knows about this curse is the mayor, the evil queen, who is also the adoptive mother of this kid that's trying to make his birth mother believe. It's really interesting. And then after she believes, we get to see more story characters come into this world. And it's really interesting to see how they portray them. For example, Peter Pan is actually the villain in one of the seasons. And Captain Hook gets a redeeming arc, and he actually ends up dating the savior. The next show on this list is The Big Bang Theory. This show is about a group of really nerdy guys who are all scientists who work for this university, and they're like the stereotypical nerd. And then this really hot girl moves in across two of the guys' apartments, and then one of the guys, Sheldon, he's really not into a relationship. He's like a super nerd. He was a kid genius. He's honestly my favorite character. He's hilarious, and he has all these like really weird things about him that just make him more funny in my opinion. And then we have Leonard, who's kind of like the group leader. He is really into his new neighbor, and he tries to get her attention all the time. It's super cute. They actually do end up dating, and they end up married, spoiler alert. And it's really interesting because we get to see the lives of all the scientists and like other friends and stuff. This show later on brings in more female characters for some of the other nerdy guys, and it's really interesting because we get to see women in STEM later on in the show, and I really like that, and I think it's really empowering. The next show in this list, Gilmore Girls. This show is about a girl and her mother, a single mother who is raising her child, and she doesn't want any help from her really rich parents, but she has to ask them for help to pay for her daughter's private school. So her parents tell her that if she wants the money for the private school, she has to come have dinner with them every single Friday. So we get to follow their lives around, and they live in this really quirky town in Connecticut, Stars Hollow, and it's a really interesting town to live in. I wish I could live there. And the daughter is really smart. She ends up getting into Harvard and Yale, and it's such a big deal. I honestly really like the show when Rory, the daughter, was in high school more than when she was in college. I feel like she kind of lost herself in college, and I really didn't like her character development, but if you watch the first 3 seasons, they're really good. In second place, we have The Vampire Diaries. This show is just amazing. The casting is amazing. Let me just say, they picked the most amazing actors to portray these characters. No other actor could have played any of these characters, in my opinion. The show follows this girl, and her parents had just died in a car crash, and she ends up meeting this vampire, and they become boyfriend and girlfriend. And then he has this brother who's meant to be the villain in the first season, but he's actually just really misunderstood, and he's really cute. He's actually just really misunderstood, and he's actually a really good person. Well, vampire, not a person. And then we get to follow their lives as they had to deal with a lot of supernatural elements, and it's really dramatic, really interesting. I'm obsessed with this show. I have seen it at least 100 times. I will include some honorable mentions. So my honorable mentions are WandaVision, The Secret Circle, Hellcat, Lost Girl, and Bridgerton. My favorite TV show of all time has to be How I Met Your Mother. This show is a lot like Friends in the sense that it's about a group of friends that live in New York City. However, I have always thought the show was better because it just has more soul. By that I mean that the way the show shows its characters deal with things and go through their problems is just super emotional and super real that I can relate to it more. This show has made me cry a bunch of times, even though it is a comedy and it's a super hilarious show. I really love how everything is really connected in this show, like from the first season to the last season. We have a lot of running gags. For example, my favorite one is the slapping bed. We get a slapping bed in one of I think the second seasons, and it's not completed until the last season, right before one of our final episodes. Speaking of the last season, the first time I watched it, I absolutely hated it. I hated how everything in the last season kind of undid the progress of the characters in the previous seasons. However, I think that's wrong now. The more I watch this show, the more I rewatch it, the more I understand why the last season had to be that way. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Woke up at 11 o'clock, I ain't got no job, what the hell should I do today? This feel like some I don't give a fuck, oh my god, shut the fuck up, I ain't hearing what you gotta say. What the deal, how you feel, not important. All I'm thinking about is riding in these